2 more days at that job.
Yeah, I think it was Plymouth or something, yeah.
169, right.
Who's this one? Over here. Okay. Well, we're gonna do it anyway, we want to do it.
Yes, that's
That's
the
the
thing,
HRA. Housing Trust Fund,
where if we adopt the ordinance, they can then set up a housing trust fund, and they're eligible for $150,000 of state funds. And then from that, they can use that money to develop housing projects.
Oh, is that gonna be done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the Minnesota Housing Finance, Minnesota Partnership.
There's a,
Here yesterday, so we met with them for probably about 45 minutes.
income,
The process of what you can do is,
income, like.
And the license will be signed.
the city council would have to adopt the
We make too much
ordinance,
money.
and then the HRA would be able to
Just-
utilize any money they have to match
It is
150.
5:30. Are we ready almost? Is that okay? All right. I would like to call to order this special council meeting of the Ely City Council on December 13th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. If we could stand for the pledge, nice and slow so we don't make it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Carol, could you call the roll, please?
Certainly. Councilmember Forsman? Here. Cass? Here. DeBelts?
Here.
Callan? Here. Campbell?
Here.
Bisbee? Here. Mayor Omerza?
I am here. We have a full council tonight. It is good to see all of you. On some pretty important business, I would say. We have no old business, and we just have new business. Consider funding for the Ely Area Ambulance Joint Powers. With that, I'm going to have, since our Joint Powers rep is Councilmember Al Forsman, I'm going to have him tee this up, if that's all right.
Yes, and I'll start by making a motion so we can have a discussion.
Perfect.
And so my motion will be to fund the Joint Powers Ambulance Board with the $32,090, which would be then transferred to the ambulance service. Plus the next year's operating subsidy for the building of $5,928, and that is my motion.
Is there support for that motion? Support by Paul. All right, discussion. I'll start and then go to Paul.
Sure. So we were approached by the Joint Powers Board was approached by the ambulance service to hold an emergency meeting because of lack of funding on their part. They were in dire straits looking to make payroll actually tomorrow, which is why we held this emergency meeting today to approve what was approved at the Joint Powers Board. So with that, as you know, we have approved funding at the council level for 2024 at the rate of $20.20 per capita. And they were asking for an advance on the 2024 funding that we have approved so they can make their payroll right now. Through the discussions at the Joint Powers Board yesterday, we did, or yesterday, 2 days ago, we did approve to go with 2 months worth of funding. They were showing a $26,000 a month deficit in their spending average over the past year. So with that, to get to $52,000, broken up by the percentages by the Joint Powers members, It came out to that amount that we approved here. This will get them, should hopefully get them through January, and they're still hoping to continue to take in receipts to help supplement that, and they are hoping their receipts will start improving. But I did, with my motion, also request that for me it was contingent that they work with the hospital to negotiate the potential transfer of their license back to the hospital, whatever it might take to keep this business solvent. We need to make sure that we have an ambulance service in our community, and you could see that we would very quickly have gone through our budgeted supplement to their budget before the end of March, probably, if we were to continue on the way we are. So they definitely have to look at options and ways to stay alive. We know that the hospital is doing a study. That study is due back in January, so they should actually have something to refer back to and look at some possible changes. But the most important thing is to make sure that those two entities are sitting together at the table discussing the right way to proceed. The hospital, like us, and the ambulance service, that we all want an ambulance service in Ely. There's no question about that. We are all on the same page there. Now there might be some differences in how we achieve that, but we all want to make sure that we have emergency ambulance service available to us. So I'm going to let others discuss, and hopefully I can answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Paul. Go ahead, or thank you, Al. Go ahead, Paul. Excuse me.
And you've all heard the definition of insanity. That says you do the same thing over and over again, but you expect a different result. That's kind of where we are now. The ambulance service has always come in and asked for more money, and then nothing changes. On current projections, they'll lose $300,000 this year. Now that's hard for the Joint Powers Board members to take that and fund that. That's very difficult to do. So the hospital, to its credit, has commissioned a study to see what the other options are, and we expect, I'm hopeful that there'll be some progress in identifying ways to do things differently. We've got to do something different, because otherwise, to me, it just feels like insanity.
Go ahead, John.
Is there any other, I guess this is for Harold or whatever, is there any other funding sources out there that may help to help the ambulance service in Ely with, if there's, with IRRB or anything else?
No, the current issues in funding is operating costs. It's not capital, it's not anything that brick and mortar can solve. It all comes down to the revenues being generated by the service, which was interesting today at the task force hearing in Mount Iron. What they had reported on Monday, I believe, was 66% was maybe the revenues captured on these runs. It's exactly what was being said by every other service. So, I mean, it's a systemic issue within all ambulance services in this whole area of the state right now. So there are no grant funds. It's looking at how do you get additional reimbursement dollars, Medicare, Medicaid. That is a problem. If you're not getting paid through the invoices you're sending out, you have a deficit. And very few of the services have joint powers arrangements like the Ely Area Ambulance Service has. So they're looking at those options. They're looking at taxing districts, all of those things. But the task force members were asking some very good questions, and I think they're getting a very good picture of how this isn't just Ely, it's just not Nashwauk, it's everybody. But in the meantime, It's great that the Ely Bloomington Community Hospital is doing this study, because again, that wasn't anything anybody else was doing out there. You know, they are looking at Babbitt, Ely, Tower, you know, so hopefully in January, something comes up. And hopefully at the same time, when the session opens up this year for the legislative session, there can be some immediate relief or some sort of emergency aid that comes through to help all these services at least sustain until the Medicare, Medicaid reimbursements increase. The federal rate of mileage is like 20-some cents, you know, so there's fundamental, and one way, only the loaded mile to the facility make them transfer till they get paid on that. So no, there are no, there's no golden goose right now that you just gotta ask for a little money and you're gonna get it, so.
Yeah.
I just wanted to expound a little bit on what Harold was talking to. There was a lengthy discussion at the legislative meeting on Monday regarding this, and also at your meeting today. But you know, one of the big things was Medicare, Medicaid, and the Ely, I think I heard about 3/4 of our, or I'm sorry, 2/3 of our patients tend to be Medicare, Medicaid patients, and with that, so if they choose not to take a ride to the ER in the ambulance, there is no pay whatsoever that Medicare, Medicaid pays the ambulance service in those situations. So they can go out, you know, I like to use the example of the end of the Fernberg, you know, 20 miles out, and they're there, and you know, for someone that refuses to come into the ER, you've got you know, a fully staffed ambulance with out there, and they get no payment for that. So you know, plus Medicare, Medicaid also has greatly reduced payments that the rates they have might make sense if you were going 2 blocks in a metro area. They don't make sense in the Ely area where it's rural and you have large distances in between. So there are a lot of, as I said, rural areas greatly struggle with ambulance reimbursement, especially in the Medicare, Medicaid payment areas. So yeah, it was 26 cents a mile that they quoted, and that's one way. So if they transport to Duluth from Ely, they get paid essentially 13 cents a mile, which you can't buy diesel fuel for that price. Much less, you know, it doesn't even cover their cost of operating the vehicle, much less you know, staffing it or anything like that. So there's definitely issues that hopefully the hospital study is going to help come up with some things. Hopefully the legislature is going to act this year, not only in state but nationally, because these are issues that it was mentioned. It's a Minnesota issue, but it's not just Minnesota. It is throughout the country. They're seeing this in rural areas. So
A couple? Go ahead, Angela.
I have a personal testimony on December 4th, Monday. I was transported from the Ely Hospital to the Virginia Medical Hospital for an emergency appendectomy. The service was excellent. I cannot stress the importance of having an ambulance service and the need, and that we will find a way.
I don't think any of us sitting up here is saying we do not want an ambulance service. And let me stress that again. We're not saying that, nor have we ever said that, correct? We have never said that. We will work on finding a way. So if anybody has ever said that or heard that, we will find a way to make something happen, to make it work one way or another. We understand the importance of that in a community like this, especially in a rural area. We will do everything we can to figure out a way to make this work. It was made abundantly clear today at the hearing, which was, by the way, very eye-opening, that LGA is not the answer. LGA is not for ambulance fares, for other things, and that's more for the council up here because we use LGA for other things. They need a different funding source if it's going to be used for the state, from the state level.
Yeah, I think an important point there, I think it was International Falls that brought that up. You know, local government aid and what those funds are utilized for. Essential services, problem is right now, ambulance service isn't quite defined that way. So it's not like we get additional LGA because we have an ambulance service. So maybe as time goes on, they can redefine those essential services and add, if you have an ambulance service in your area, maybe the LGA is increased for that, however that may look. So again, as Heidi had mentioned, it's, yeah, we got to increase in LGA, and as you all well know, because you worked on the budget, you know, it's not as simple as just, well, we got this local, we'll just put it all into that, you know, when we know it's a critical need. It's not that simple.
And I think the last thing to highlight, and it was something that Pete Makowski did bring up, and it was not mentioned today because it was more as state of Minnesota, it was the task force for on the House side, but I think we owe it to all of us and to the community, the greater community. We need to get a hold of our U.S. senators and really elevate it to that level, the state level obviously, but also the senators, our U.S. senators are the ones who can make a huge difference on this as well. They need to. They need to know what is going on here. And the more that we can let them know what is going on, not us, but all of you out there, the better off we are going to be. This story needs to be told. The story of Greater Minnesota needs to be told, and we can help make the story, but the more people that let them know, the better off we are going to be, the better off you all are going to be out there, and it's going to make a difference. So, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, that's such a big state surplus, and they gave all that money out and stuff. Was there, does anybody know if there was any surplus left through the state that our representatives could work on to maybe give more money to ambulance services?
That's what part of the task force was about today, so we're trying to do what we can. That's a big part of it. All right, are we ready to vote? Go ahead.
I want to add one more thing,
Please
because
do.
I think this is an important part. You know, we talked about continuing to fund the ambulance service. I just want to point out that at the rate we were looking at a subsidy from the city of Ely to the ambulance, not including the building funding, which would be about $200,000 a year. $200,000 would be a 12% of our levy. You know, I mean, that's a huge number. So whatever you're, you know, we kept our levy increase to 3% this year, and we do cover some of that already. But you know, it would have been at least another 6% on top of what we had to be able to just maintain what we have right now. So if you were to looking at it, you know, 10 to 12% increase in your levy this year, or 10 to 15 actually, if you include our 3%, that's what it would have hit to be able to continue on as we are, and it's too late to do that. So I just wanted to put some real numbers out there as to what that is. Your taxes going up at least 10%.
We're going to do everything we can to make it work, but not make that happen. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.